Welcome to another edition of the Weir Pod. My name is Clare Hughes, board member and co-founder of Women in Estate Agency. Each week we bring you stories from some of the amazing people in our community. But of course we couldn't do it without our fantastic partners here at Digital Sparks. If you haven't heard of them or seen their work, then please do check them out. And of course, if you're enjoying the podcast, don't forget to subscribe. Today's guest brings courage, clarity and collaboration to the property world. Gemma Dawe is a buying agent and director of Lake District Relocation, a business she launched after being made redundant during the pandemic. What could be seen as a setback for many became the start of something empowering, and she's now helping clients navigate one of the UK's most unique markets. Gemma's passionate about demystifying the role of a buying agent and how they can actually strengthen the work that estate agents do rather than compete with them. She's a huge believer in education and mentoring, making space for others to grow. We're delighted to have Gemma on the podcast today. So welcome, Gemma. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for that really lovely introduction.
It's all genuine. And you've come such a long way down, because I have family in the Lake District, and I know that journey. It's a hell of a long way.
Yeah.
You probably had an early start this morning.
I did, but this is very exciting, so thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us today. So, on the introduction, I said you launched your business during lockdown.
Yeah.
But let's go back a bit as to how you started in agency and where you'd come from before that.
Yeah, so before I started in agency, I worked in car dealerships.
Right.
Which is very different.
Well, you could say that it's different, but
it's a customer service element, isn't
it?
There you go. It is the foundation of everything. Yeah. And I worked my way through some pretty fantastic training, actually. I used to work for Ford and Subaru, so I would say, world-class training in customer service at a young age.
Yeah.
In the times of dealerships, one of the ones that we were working for actually was at the bottom of the rankings at that time, and actually working through that process of getting it in the top 10 in the country, where it was actually being paid for being one of the best dealerships in the UK.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so obviously taking something where, if you're in a car dealership, the reality is you don't really want to pay to be there.
No.
Most of the time your car's broken down, it's a bad experience.
Yeah.
So it was trying to learn to turn that negative into a positive. And actually that's enabled me to deal with conflict, because most of the time you're talking people down, you're taking the sting out of a big bill.
Yeah.
So, making that experience, and it was all the little things. It's the silly things like, and it's silly to say now, but, have a coffee. What coffee would you like? I'll go and make you that.
Very simple
How's your
things,
day been? And I think those are the things that very, very similar in the property industry. When you start to get to know people, your buyers, how things are going.
When Foxtons, and this is going off on a tangent somewhere, when Foxtons first launched, their offices were completely different from any other estate agency office at the time. And that's, do you want a glass of water, sparkling or still? A coffee, what kind of coffee would you like? Very simple.
Yeah.
But it's, all, as you say, all about customer service.
Absolutely.
So transition from a car dealership to estate agency?
Well, then to workshop manager. So I ran a workshop with 5 gentlemen in. So again, I worked in a male-dominated industry, which, I learned a lot from.
Okay, so tell me some of the learnings from that, working with an all-male staff.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky. I worked with some great people. It's about respect, and I'm a very approachable person, and the guys respected me and I respected them, and we worked really well together. And I found that was the way of managing a workshop with men in. It was difficult at times, the pressure was on, but I loved doing it. I then ended up being promoted to after sales manager in that company as well, and we began to sell motorhomes. So I was homes on wheels at that point in time. So yeah, I loved that. Obviously got some fantastic reactions because we're talking maybe, 50, 20 years ago now. So, the people have come in and say they need the wheel changing, and I'd bobble on out there and go and do it. And the reactions that I got sometimes
Really?
was, "Oh, was it?
Do you think that's
Where's the
changed?
other person?"
Do you think that's changed much now? Are people still expecting?
No, I think things have moved on quite a lot. But obviously, back in that time, you know, wiper blades and light bulbs and things, so, you know, headlights, things like that, I would regularly go and do them, and it would always get a bit of a reaction.
Well, I'd be impressed.
So,
I would be very impressed. I couldn't change a tire if I needed to.
Yeah, I went on from doing that, and then I was headhunted by an estate agency that was opening in Cumbria, and they hadn't quite opened at the time, and then I joined them, and then that was the start of my property career.
So they recruited you for your customer service experience more than anything?
Yes.
And just knew that was a transferable skill?
And the fact that I was a local person as well.
Right, okay.
And I think that where we are, that's a key attribute really in that area. So where I work at the moment, it isn't like the high street that I've just walked through where there's about 20 agents in eye shot of each other. You know, it's a very tight-knit community. There's a handful of agents that exist in a massive area because it's very rural. So yeah, we do. It looks big on a map, but everybody knows everybody up there. So
don't I know it?
Yes, you will. Yeah, and in fact, I used to live across the road from your sister. So
Oh right, yes.
that's how small the world is, isn't it?
I think there's a connection of childminders or something. That her childminder, or for my niece and nephew, was the same as yours, or something like that.
Yeah.
So they took you on as a junior nurse?
A trainee, I went in as a trainee,
right,
which was really, really difficult, actually. That was a mind shift swip for me, if you know what I mean, because, you know, I've gone from being a manager of a workshop in a fast-paced environment to then going to be a trainee was very difficult.
How did you deal with that?
It was just really hard. You know, you have to sort of remember that you're learning again, and that can be really difficult. But I just knew, you know, everybody says you remember the first sale that you deal with, and I absolutely did. And I actually walked past it the other day, and I said, that's the first house I ever sold. So
and you will remember it forever.
Yeah, you do.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so, did you work your way up there?
Yes, I did. Yeah. It was. They opened a second office, so then a third, then a fourth.
Right. Okay.
And then it was just very addictive property, I find.
So you were then a branch manager, presumably?
Yeah, for a short period of time with them. Yeah. Went on maternity leave and then came back, and then there was not long after that the pandemic came. Yeah. So.
Okay. So pandemic came. And they had to make a decision quite quickly because stations just shut down and nobody was going to be buying in the Lake District.
No. It was an awful time for everybody at that time. I mean, who knows how to deal with something like that? It is just...
We weren't prepared as a
Everybody
nation
was thrown into craziness, weren't they? And it was just, So I found myself at home, sort of pre-furlough, if you will, and thinking, OK, what am I going to do with this time? But I actually found, for me, the world opened up because suddenly everybody was doing free webinars. There was lots of learning that people were putting out there. There were speakers that I'd never heard of before suddenly talking, and I was really inspired. And I just, every single day that I was at home, I learned something. That was my mission. I wanted to make sure that I came out of this better than I went into it.
And you know, that's a real growth mindset.
Yeah.
Which, you know, all entrepreneurs really have that. You always have a growth mindset.
Yeah.
So the natural thing to do if you were thinking about running your own business, having been an estate agent, would be to open up your own estate agency.
Yeah.
But you didn't do that.
No. I chose a different, harder route.
And why did you do that? Why did you become a buyer's agent?
Yeah, so I had the idea in the back of my mind for a few years before I did it.
Right.
But it was one of them things, I think, as most people probably have experienced in their lives, it's the confidence to go and do something. So I actually found that my redundancy was that kick off the cliff I needed to actually get on with it. So, you know, it wasn't a nice thing at the time, but actually it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
And sometimes you need just that shove.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this was quite a big shove. But...
Yeah, it was brilliant. So, you know, I took the learning and went down the route of going down by an agency because I wanted to do something very, very different. You know, we've got some really good estate agents up where we are, and I thought, you know, I can really do something that's very different here. And as a buying agent, really, you are expected to know your area well. And I thought, well, what better to keep it locked down to the Lake District, Cumbria, and a little bit of the Yorkshire Dales. So it's a fairly small area. Some cover the whole of the north, the whole of the northwest, whereas I'm very concentrated on where it is I am. And I know everyone, I know the best groups to go to, you know, so I can say to my clients, actually, I know the toddler group down the road if you know, you bring in a family here, and here's the best running groups, here's the best women's groups, you know, it's...
So explain a bit, because there aren't many buying agents in the country, and I think they're in pockets, probably areas like the Lake District where people want to buy second homes sometimes, and they're expensive homes, maybe Cornwall, definitely in London prime central and sort of west and northwest. But everywhere else probably doesn't exist, or it's quite a rarity. So explain to us a little bit about what a buying agent does.
So a buying agent represents the buyer in the negotiations, but helps them when it is difficult for them to buy. So we work with a lot of complicated people. So
complicated people or complicated situations? Or both?
Well, both, I suppose. So situations where, you know, people have been looking for a long time, and, you know, they can feel very overwhelmed by the situation. And as estate agents, everybody will have come across that. I know I did. I met people who had been working, you know, showing houses for a year, but they were really, really struggling. And sometimes they need someone to unpick that for them and actually, you know, divert them in a certain way. Now, I would argue probably that I can speak to that buyer in a different way than an estate agent could. And I suppose a lot of people say my job's a bit like a counsellor as well. I
think estate agents are counsellors, but yes, but you
on a deeper level.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're bringing two people sometimes who might not have the same wish list, and bringing them together, and sometimes just showing them that you can overcome the obstacles. But obviously, as a buying agent, you're working with much less people than you would do as an estate agent. So it's very, very, you're very hyper-focused, I suppose, on a few people.
I mean, in other countries, it is perfectly standard to have a buying agent because the first time you get any professional support as a buyer in the UK is usually when you're instructing your solicitor. And at that stage, the solicitor's asking you questions. Did you find out this? Oh no, I don't know that. You know, I don't know the you know, length of lease, or all, you know, lots of things, because you've not had the representation. And you know, I think we should collaborate more with buying agents. And so how can we educate estate agents that it is a positive and not a negative?
I think because there aren't that many, and it's not, you know, some estate agents won't even have heard of a buying agent or come across them before. But if you look at it as a collaborative relationship, because sometimes when a sale is agreed, that buyer goes off and does their own thing, and despite your best efforts, they won't speak to you because they've put a guard up. Obviously, my job, if I'm involved, is actually to be in regular contact. One of the things that I do is that I'm involved in all of the emails that are sent between the solicitors. Now, if something comes up, and now I'm not advising them as a solicitor, that is a completely separate conversation. But when things do come up that frighten buyers off, actually we're sitting down and breaking it down into normal, everyday terms.
So going through a survey and say, don't worry, it's not falling down. You're reading too much into it.
Let's go and speak to so-and-so, the local builder, and we can, you know, see what they think. And just sort of keeping the process moving. So it's in complicated situations, it's more likely to go through with the support of a buying agent on the other side, in my opinion.
So fewer fall-throughs?
Absolutely. I mean, we've had some really complicated situations. We've all been there when, I hate saying egos, but egos sometimes get in the way. And actually sometimes sitting it down, breaking it down and saying, look, you know, you're buying the house, not the person.
Yeah.
Because we've all been there as well.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, that's what a buying agent's for. That relationship is so much more intense with the buyer.
Given the area that you work in, you
Yeah.
probably come across some complex
Yes.
sales.
Yeah.
We don't get, in my neck of the woods in East London, we don't have an issue with septic tanks and
No.
rights away across your land.
Yeah.
And so you must be very familiar with that type of issue as well.
Yeah.
And being able to advise your clients. Again, you know, if you're working with a client from out of area,
Yeah.
they may not understand, or, you know, I don't want somebody walking across my land.
No.
But you can, that's you know, it's in the lease, so it's in the title. So you can work through that perhaps better than the agent.
Yeah.
Is that?
Well, you're having that conversation before they've even viewed the property.
Right, okay.
So they and you're explaining to them, if you've said to me, this is your wish list,
Yeah.
these are the things we're going to come across. This is normal, this is not, this is what we need to be aware of. And you're explaining it to them. So it's never going to be a surprise
Yeah.
when they get to the lawyer stage. So actually, you're adding a layer of security to the entire conversation. Once they get to the offer stage, you've told them a lot more than they probably already know about houses, particularly rural areas.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I suppose we're kind of overcoming obstacles before they become.
So if somebody has a wish list, do you say, right, okay, prioritise those wishes? I mean, this is what I do
Yeah.
with anybody when they
Yeah.
come around to view a house. But as a buying agent, you've got all that beforehand. You're saying, this is what you're looking for, but you're not going to get all of those
Yeah.
things. So put
Yeah.
them in order.
Yeah.
And then, but you've got, do you speak to both? If it's a couple, do you speak to both and try and merge those wish lists into
It
one?
depends on the people that are involved, in all honesty, and everyone's got different dynamics, haven't they, in the relationship. So, yeah, it's just trying to work out what is important. But I would say, what's an absolute no?
Right.
Because you know, you can walk in somewhere and they go absolutely not.
Yeah.
So it's good to know that. But we're having multiple deep, long conversations about what they're looking for a lot before we're viewing houses.
So do you have sort of, I don't know, properly network meetings in the Lake District that you get together with agents?
So, I mean, as you know, the Lake District actually in reality is fairly small, and you know, there are a number of agents there. But I'm lucky because I came from agency before. I dealt with a lot of them through chains.
Yeah.
We're all local. We go to the same events, know each other. Right. So, you know, I will ring them regularly or pop in to see them and tell them who we've got looking. And as agents, we've all been there where I think they used to be called the bottom drawer properties, right, where your hands are tied behind your back and you've got people that want privacy, but they don't want to go on the open market. And it's, who do you show them houses to? Well, I'm the perfect person to call in that case, because I talk to different people every week, and it might be that actually I know exactly who we could suggest for that property. So there's a lot of collaboration in that sense. You know, great relationships with multiple agents that will say, right, we're going to be taking this property on, just to give you a heads up. But equally, now the market's changing as well, we get the phone call to say, we've got this couple that really want to get moved. They've found something they want. You know, keep it in the back of your mind, because if you've got someone, that would be great. And it's just having that, you know, open relationship where we can...
So you say the market now, it is a tougher market now than it was a couple of years ago. So when you first launched, that's when it was completely bonkers, and everybody wanted to go to, I don't know, the South Coast, down to Cornwall or up to the Lake District. It must have been mental for you. But...
So, I mean, I could never have predicted that was what was going to happen.
No,
I mean, at the time when I opened, you know, I pedalled very hard, very fast to try and make it work. I had a short period of time where I knew I had to get it to work by then. And, I'd say that timing was everything really with that. Is that I dropped this business idea just at the right time, and then the market picked up, and then we got a couple of referrals from other clients that we just started working with. So the word started to spread amongst people that that's what I was doing, and the next thing I knew, and then the market went crazy. With me being when we had zones. Well, I was the only one in that zone that could travel. You couldn't travel between zones, so
of course, yeah.
you know, that was a big factor then.
It's kind of, it seems like a distant memory now, but it was only 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I know that mentoring has played a really important part in your journey.
Yeah.
And you reached out to Agents Together.
Yeah.
Early on, because you knew Sarah, obviously from the Lake District. So how did she reach out to you and say, do you want a mentor? Did you reach out to her? Or?
So I reached out to them because I actually wanted a mentor, which I didn't know whether they'd have any, you know, because buying agents, again, there's not many of them. And bless her, Sarah was at an industry event and she got talking to Phil Spencer. And basically that's how that all came about. And it was all thanks to Sarah and Phil offering his time, which I thought was lovely of him. So for me, yeah, that was huge because Phil owned one of the largest buying agents in the UK previously. And, you know, to talk to somebody who's walked a day in your shoes, which is very much like the estate agency side of it, just have a mentor where you can talk to someone who's made the mistakes that you're going to make or trod the path that you're going to and has overcome the hurdles that
Do you think he was able to prevent you from making mistakes? Was there anything that he said, don't do that because that will be detrimental to your business, or try these things and see which is the best option? Yeah,
I mean, I'd say things change. We're in a very fast changing world even now, but at that point in time as well. So, you know, the conversations were really varied on you know, what the market and the world was like now. Obviously, buying agency isn't an easy thing to do because it's just not accepted by the general members of the public. You know, nobody really wants to pay for us because they think that everything's on Rightmove and that's it. But the reality of it is, once you get into it, you do realise that it's not just about that. It's about saving people money as well in negotiations, but explaining things and taking the stress away. So it was a conversation on lots of levels, really.
So Phil was a great help to you?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's good to hear. And you continue to be a mentor?
I did, but I never went into it. And I will say this to anybody that is listening, actually, go and be a mentor to somebody because you learn so much yourself. I never intended to do that, but Sarah said to me, you've got so much to offer. And for me, I wasn't even thinking about doing that. So
Sarah, I mean, you know this, but Sarah was such a special person and she could bring out people's strengths that they didn't know they had.
No.
So that's obviously what she did there. So how many people did you go on to?
So I had 2 very close mentorships and then a third that I worked with. Haven't done anything recently, but yeah, it was really interesting process to go through. So one was a buying agent that was starting up and 2 were estate agents that were just struggling in their careers at the time.
But you can offer support for either now, because you've walked the walk in both sectors. So you would recommend people reaching out to Agents Together either to be a mentor or a mentee?
Yeah, absolutely. I do. I think it's been key for me, but also I just think that it was something that wasn't around when I went into agency. And I think just having an external person that you can talk to and say, OK, I'm struggling with this, or I'm really not sure about how to progress this. And it's just somebody saying, OK, look at these things, you know. And
it doesn't have to be people in business, senior management. The mentors are out there for anybody in agency.
Yeah.
So, looking ahead at the buying industry, I suppose, what changes would you like to see made, or how can we work together to make it most of a thing, I suppose, so more accepted in our industry?
It's consumer education, which I keep saying, because to most of the general public, they don't even know that we exist. In all honesty, and collaboration is a huge thing. I send a lot of work back into the system because people start to get to know who buying agents are. You become a pillar of the community like everybody else in them world does. You're asked for advice and you can steer people towards estate agents. I regularly do that. So I do think it's a two-way street, and actually in London particularly, you know, there are agents in London that are regularly contacted. They regularly send people back into the system, talk to those people. So I know, you know, how it works. So, yeah, I do think there needs to be a big drive here in the UK to educate people on buying agents and how they can help. The difficulty, I suppose, is that a lot of agents have a misconception that it's the American system where there's a split fee.
Yeah, I know.
And they're frightened of that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The UK has its own system,
Yeah.
and a buying agent is paid actually directly by the buyer, and there isn't that.
They cannot get a fee from both sides.
No. And yeah,
very clear on
so
that.
now in the States are obviously going through, there's a lawsuit going on at the moment, and they're likely to lean towards our system, which will be split. So the buying agent will be paid separately. And actually it just makes it cleaner, transparent, you're independent.
There's no conflict there, no conflict of interest. So you've been a member of Women in Estate Agency, I think right from the beginning when we first launched 5 years, when you were just launching your business.
Yeah.
So obviously we've grown, we're doing lots of things in the community now, leadership training, we've got champions, regional champions all across the country. But what does Women in Estate Agency mean to you, and what can we do to help our industry?
Yeah, I mean, how amazing is it to have a group where you can ask any question? And I just think it's fantastic. And I'm probably one of those silent followers in the background, and I'll contribute every now and then, but I'm watching in the background going, this is just fantastic, really.
But you're there and you can see, and if there's something that you think, I really need to answer that, then you would be there because you're watching. I come across women all the time when I'm going to events, and they're not necessarily people that I know, but they say, oh, I love your group, I'm in there all the time. And I thought, but you don't contribute. But they're there and they're learning and they feel supported. And it's you know, we talk about it being a safe place, which it absolutely is.
Yeah.
And we're just thrilled with the way that it's grown and continues to grow and support women.
There's not many places, though, where you can have that many people with that much information and experience. It's a fantastic hub, isn't it?
I know.
It's like a library of...
I know.
It's
really
brilliant.
Because you can go back and search things if there's something you want to hear about, or somebody will say, look back at such and such.
With the Renters Reform Bill, for instance, if we're going to look at some of the questions that are being asked in there at the moment, and you think, well, what a fantastic place for everyone to just come together and say, well, what are you doing? How can we help each other? And you know,
it's still a bit, you know, there's lots of uncertainties or people's misunderstanding or lack of understanding of the legislation as it comes through. But yes, so it is a great place to be. So we're coming to the end of our time.
Yes.
It's flown by, but I'm sure we could talk for a lot longer. But there's one last question. We ask everybody this. So who would you nominate to be in that hot seat for a future episode of the Weir Pod? So
I'd like to see Katie Griffin or Toby. I don't even need to say Toby's surname, everyone knows who Toby is. But I just think that, you know, lots of different career paths there, lots of different things going on. I'd love to hear one of them.
Two great nominations there, but thank you very much for joining us today.
No problem.
Gemma.
Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on next week's pod.